All right, welcome back to the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. We have a special guest, WKBW's Matthew Beauvais, joining us today. Today, another practice. We're gearing up for the preseason game number 2 on Saturday against the Denver Broncos. Matt, we got to hear from Ken Dorsey today, a couple of linebackers. What was your takeaway from practice?
That I missed training camp in Rochester because nothing happened today. This might be the most boring day of practice. Please keep watching. We promise we'll get more excited than this. But Ken Dorsey talked about having to call plays from the booth, which to me is okay. Cool. Yeah. I don't care where you call them from. Just call them from wherever. And then we went out in the practice field, and it was a very mellow, chill day. This was like one of those days that you do to ease into a really, extreme practice.
It was an extremely long practice, though. That was one of the things
it was 15 minutes longer than you wanted.
Well, you told me 11:15, and it was 11:30.
We're both just hungry, and that's why that 15 minutes felt like it was so much longer than it actually was.
Yeah, it definitely does. All right, we got to talk to Terrell Bernard as well as Balin Spector, 2 of the rookie linebackers, both of the guys having some nice plays in the game on Saturday, the preseason game against the Colts. Terrell Bernard just seems like such a McDermott processy guy.
Oh, 100%. I feel like Terrell Bernard is one of those players that if he was 2 inches taller, he would have never been a third-round pick, and he would have probably had way more buzz around him. Yeah. But those are the kind of guys the Bills like. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that they found a gem in Matt Milano. And I'm not saying that they're the same player, but Terrell Bernard makes splash plays. And the thing that the Bills are going to have to try and figure out is how do you get this guy on the field? Because he's no questions asked making the 53-man roster. Yeah. But with the Bills' base defense, they use Tremaine Edmonds, Matt Milano, and Taron Johnson. So you could say, okay, maybe you'll take Taron Johnson off the field if you're going to plan for a team running against you. Yeah. But I think in those settings they would actually prefer Saran Neal because he's a little bit more versatile. So I think Terrell Bernard is going to be an impactful player for this team down the road. I just don't know how big of an impact he'll make in the short term.
I agree with that. I always find this interesting too. He says he talked so much about Matt Milano because he used to model his game, watch his game tape when he was younger. And he talked about just the fact of that room and the experience that is in that room and how much those guys, Balin Spector and him have kind of relied on that.
And it's nice because you're going into a room where there is youth, but there's still also so much experience. And I know we make the joke, Dan loves to make the joke about Tremaine Edmonds and his age, but the guy's got so many games in the book. And same thing with Matt Milano, but they're also not like these seasoned, grizzled vets who can't relate to somebody who's in their early 20s. So I think that it's kind of the perfect blend, and I think that's a position that's going to be pretty strong for the Bills for years to come.
Balin Spector, a guy that I had some Bills fans reaching out like, who's this number 54 on Saturday against the Colts? He seemed to be always around the ball. He was a later round draft pick. I believe he was sixth in the 6th round.
From Clemson.
He's a guy that's played big time football, but at the same point, where do we see him fitting into this late season cuts, things like that?
I kept looking at him thinking it was A.J. Klein out on the field wearing number 54, and I'm like, okay, that's got to be A.J. Klein.
He even has the hair.
He's got the hair, exactly. So I think that if he's going to make the team, which I think is probable at this point, but it's still not for sure, he's going to need to carve out a role on special teams, and he's going to kind of need to play a similar role to what A.J. Klein did, was when teams went big, he would be one of the guys you'd bring out there, and he's further down the depth chart, but he has something that both Tyrel Dodson and Terrell Bernard don't have, and that's some size. So really, besides Tremaine Edmonds, it is a smaller, with air quotes, group of linebackers. So I think that he is going to have a strong rest of the preseason. It's not like a slam dunk that he makes the team, because that's not how it is with Bills anymore. Just because you're a draft pick doesn't mean you're going to make the 53-man roster, but I think he's probably got a good chance at making it.
So many things have changed over the years that we've been covering this Bills team. Talking about some of the other guys that have stood out, Khalil Shakir, we saw it on Saturday, Khalil Shakir, thank you. I need to get better. I'll take a lap after this is over. But a guy who's so smooth and so poised, and even Ken Dorsey was talking about that, and how he's just impressed by what he's been able to do.
I was watching a clip, and forgive me because I don't know who posted it, but they were talking about how next level some of the routes that he runs are, and how when he's running a straight route, he dips his shoulder after a couple yards so he can make sure that the DBs can't get a good firm press on him. And it's little stuff that separates him from maybe your traditional rookie. So I think that he's going to play a role on this team. He's definitely making the team. I think he's going to be on the field more than maybe we expected going into training camp in the preseason.
Interesting. I could see that being a role. Do you think people should pick him up in fantasy?
I can tell you this: I was in a dynasty league and I already accidentally dropped him because I was feeling myself in free agency, so I needed to make some room. Yeah, so I got rid of him, and I am really regretting that because I do think that he could be their long-term kind of like slot Mr. Versatile. Like, I think that in a perfect world, you still have Isaiah McKenzie as kind of your Mr. Do-It-All and have him more in a slot role. But with Jamison Crowder only on a 1-year contract, Gabe Davis going to need a new contract, I think Shakir can be this guy who can do a little bit of everything because even though he's smaller, he's not just a slot receiver. That's probably where he's best, but you can line him up on the boundary. And really, after Diggs and Davis, they don't have a ton of depth there.
They don't, and that was one of the things that stood out on Saturday. He was all over the field.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think he is such a lock to make this team. And I think we all kind of thought that going into camp, but he has far exceeded expectations. Maybe as far as like all rookies are concerned, he has been the most impressive, and he's been one of the most impressive players just in general at this point.
Yeah, at camp, I feel like he's one of those guys that has stood out every day. He had some nice catches even today, a one-hand grab that I got that I'll send you later. But yeah, hey, we're going to wrap it up here. We had a lot of fun today at this training camp practice that's back in Buffalo.
I agreed to do this. I did not agree to do this in the rain.
I can't control that.
Nobody to control the controllables. We're just out here doing our 111th.
We're finding a way.
On this, find a way. On this Tuesday, I don't even know what it is. Tuesday in mid-August.
Yeah, August 16th.
They all blend together at this point.
They do, except this is a lot further away than Pittsburgh.
For you, not for me. Yeah, welcome back to Buffalo, baby.
All right, for Matthew Beauvais of 7 Eyewitness News. Actually, no.
No, we're not 7 Eyewitness News anymore. We rebranded. New year, new us. I guess that was like 6 months ago. Okay. We're just 7 News now. 7 Sports.
7. Okay, so
7 Sports,
Matt Beauvais of,
News.
I'm just going to say WKBW. I'm Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, most importantly, subscribe to Buffalo Plus. We'll catch you next time here on Buffalo Plus.